Dames en heren, Tycho's kunstbeleving.
Hello everybody, welcome to a new podcast. This time it will be in English. I hope you can follow because I never done a podcast in English before. But today I'm with Alex Bruss. Do I say it right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, I'm a figurative painter. I'm mostly working with the cardboard and hard panels, and and working in like new surrealism style, more or less. That's about it.
But that's a nice way to describe it, like new surrealistic. It's a bit dreamy, your work.
It is because before I met this term somewhere else, somebody else was making a research about like new surrealist. I never actually could put myself into one of the boxes what actually I'm doing, because it's definitely not realistic painting and it's definitely not abstract. It's like figurative. How do I call it? It's like the combination of religious and modern narratives. So I guess like new surrealism describes it more or less correct.
Yeah, beautiful. And when we spoke each other at the exhibition of Keetje Mans, you told that you have a background in architecture and interior design. Can you tell a little bit more about that, how you started and how you decided from that to go and do art?
Yeah, graag. I've graduated as an architect, and I worked as an interior designer and like the interior architect for longer than 14 years at this point. So it was one of the obvious career choices back then for me, because as a little child, since I was like, I don't know, maybe 6, I thought, okay, I'm going to be an artist. I really enjoyed art, and like looking back at my childhood drawing, they weren't this perfect. They were just like regular, but for some reason I thought like, I'm really good in it. I'm gonna nail it. So I had a lot of books about artists. I was dreaming about it all the time, but by the teenagehood, I realized that, at least back then in Novosibirsk, when I was growing, being an artist wasn't a profession. It's like being an artist. What is it? It's hobby. How do you do money with the drawings? Okay, you can draw well, but what do you do with that?
Really? Because I thought that like in the Siberian part, they take it very seriously even.
Well, they're very serious about technique. So if you if you're studying like how to draw for some reason to become an architect, for example, they treat it really seriously, and they have really high standards with academic art disciplines. But ways of monetizing it, they're like not that obvious. So if you want to gain some money with your like drawing well skills, you either becoming a teacher, so you teach other people how to draw, or you can become some like art related professions like designer, architect, photographer, whatsoever. You also can become like an artist, but it's such a narrow niche. It's such a like the selected out of selected professionals that can actually live the life of an artist, have their own their own studio, have their own exhibitions and galleries, that I never ever actually could think about like trying to get into this very narrowed world.
How did you decide to do it anyways? Because here you are as an artist.
Yeah. I spent a happy 14 years like working as interior designer, and then I met my husband. We decided that we're gonna live together in Netherlands because he's a Dutch. First, we were like choosing the country where we would love to stay, maybe in UK because he used to live in UK back then, and maybe in Moscow because it wasn't also like good option back then before all the events. But then pandemic hit, and we stopped on Netherlands. So I moved to Netherlands, and here I figure out like, wait, people actually can be artists. It's not just a hobby. You can actually be your profession. Then maybe I can try again.
Yeah, so then you decided to do art in the Netherlands. What were your first steps towards it?
Ooh, that's a good one, because I had no idea how to be an artist, because I knew how to be a designer, how to be an architect, how to work with clients, how to find projects, how to get money for a project, how to make your project, how to make realizations, how to go through all the steps of building and stuff like that. But with art, if you never were in this profession before, if you just like beginning with it, you have no idea what to do. You trying to find a gallery to work with, you're trying to find the customers, but where? So my first step was a small exhibition for friends and family mostly in the Wasserij in Rotterdam. A friend of ours, he had his atelier, so he kindly let me do my like one day exhibition there. I was really anxious about it. Went really nice, cozy, never moved me anywhere from that point. But it was my,
okay.
my very first step. So, okay, I had an exhibition.
Was that an exhibition with the fish as subject?
Yeah, human and fish.
Yeah, I saw a video of it on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah.
How did you find it?
You didn't see it? There was someone that made a video about the exhibition.
I know that it exists, but I never sent you the link. I thought it's somewhere
really?
like in the deep dark bottom of the YouTube.
Oh no, I just searched up your name. I thought like, well, maybe something come up, but I show you after the podcast.
No, actually, no. I know this video. I've seen it. So the girl who made it,
Yeah,
she was making her like journalist bachelor degree in Rotterdam back then. So it was kind of her like the one of her projects for her
yeah.
study.
She interviewed you also for the video. Yeah.
True.
But so when you started to become an artist in the Netherlands, you already had the skill to draw and paint, right? Or did you also have to learn that? Because I can also understand that architecture drawing is different from art drawing and painting.
Well, during this architecture degree, we had to make like 4-year course of academical art, which was like drawing, painting, and a bit of sculpture. So I kind of had already the base. And I would say, thanks to my teachers and to my school, it was like very strong academic skill base. But of course, it was a bit rusty after not painting, not drawing for so many years. It still feels like I'm doing something wrong now. Whenever I'm starting to paint, I feel like, okay, I don't remember how was it.
Still right now?
Of course.
For how long have you been making art? It's like about the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Then
so
you
it's
started.
around
So it's not
3
that long
years. No.
even. Yeah. I was curious because in that video that we were talking about with the exhibition of fishes, can you tell something about the exhibition, what it was about?
Oh yeah. So it all started with painting of a red whale. When I just moved to Netherlands, and as an interior designer, I needed to decorate our space, my own new space. I thought, okay, I need a painting. Paintings are quite expensive, so I also can paint. I'm gonna paint one. And I knew exactly that I need like red whale, and from that I started to think, okay, just red whale, why exactly red? Then I got this image in my head of like two men like holding this red whale, and I thought, okay, that's a bit weird, but I'm gonna go with it. So I used my husband as a model for this like naked Atlants holding the red whale. And I started to think what this image is about for me. It's like a bit weird, surrealistic. And I realized that it's about this invisible burden of life that every human being has on its own. You have your own problems. I have my own problems. We don't see them. We only see ourselves like nice, beautiful, shining people. But as long as this burden of inner thoughts, emotions, and experiences is bearable for you, nobody gonna see it. When it's unbearable and you crack in, you have a meltdown, everybody sees it. Okay, this person had something.
True.
But when it's still bearable, it's somewhere behind us, above us. This like huge red whale in this case was the Imagine Me was drawn as a red whale. So from this painting, I started to think about this. What other emotional states, like inner processes, I can paint as this flying in the air fishes around the humans. So I created this series where each other painting represents some different state of mind, like loneliness or happiness or loss. It was a bit of a emotional and both emotional and visual research for me.
You were really like certain of the red whale, you said. It had to be a red whale. In the video you told about that you were sketching and like some things just appeared a little. And I was curious about your process. So you had an idea of what you wanted to do a little bit. So you knew you wanted a red whale and wanted to do a bit of... you wanted to do something with like emotions and stuff. But can you tell more about the process? How are you coming up with the paintings and the drawings? Are you always like sketching it out first, or do you sometimes just start and see where it goes? Or
no, I'm always making sketches. I'm very, very OCD person that there is no way I'm just gonna like free drawing anything ever. No, especially if it's very important work that I'm gonna show to anybody. It's always like goes through like the sketch stage, and when in sketch I'm like 80% sure that that's the final composition. I'm starting with the bigger piece. And then like while I'm beginning work on the bigger piece, yes, I can add or change something, but I have to have a plan first.
So you make multiple sketches for one painting?
Mostly one or two, not multiple, but I also have like quite a long thought process in between from the first like very rough sketch somewhere on the napkin or something. Then I need a couple days to really like turn it all facets in my brain to think like what's the best way to put it onto the paper, and then I can continue with sketching.
So you try to imagine how the painting can look before you even try to sketch it.
Yeah, I always need this like more or less clear image of what I'm gonna do already. I don't know, it's think like the overthinking in a very specific way, but so far I like it, because while you hallucinating with all these images in your brain, I'm really enjoying it. It's like watching the movie that's only available for one spectator.
True. So you are like imagining your painting on your paper first. So the landscapes you see on the backgrounds of your paintings, are they like landscapes that remind you of somewhere you have been, or really just fantasy, like really?
They mostly actual landscapes existing. For example, with my big work for Florence Biennale, Annunciation 2, it was the landscape of Ukraine village, Novaya Kakhovka, that was drawn after like Russian missile. So it's like existing landscape, like well, it's not exactly drawn from some like photo or footage, but it's inspired by the images of this drawn village, and it's the working in connection with the foreground of the painting, where the mythical Annunciation scene happening, while on the background is like cruel reality happens, and you can do nothing about it, and that's the world we live in, yet we keeping all our myths and fairy tales and like the handing them for generations. So each time the landscape is very important part that supports the front narrative of the piece.
Interesting. And to come back to it, because you were telling about one piece that you showed on the art Biennale in Florence. Exactly. How did that go? Like your exhibition there, and because you won a prize also, so it went pretty well, I guess.
That was very, very unexpected because I had zero expectations. I just attend this Biennale. So it goes like, since it's Biennale each 2 years in Florence. And last year it was more than 600 different artists from all over the world. It was like really huge. When I first entered the space, how do you call it? God. The venue. Oh, yeah. When I first entered the venue, I was just like petrified and a bit intimidated. Oh my God, that's so huge, and I don't feel that confident at all. But that was a week mostly talking with other artists, with art teachers. They had one day when the students from the art academy came there, so it was a lot of communication. And graduation ceremony was just at the end, and by the end you're so tired already that it doesn't really matter, but it did, of course, it did. And that was very unexpected and very weird to feel, oh God, I'm just doing it for like a couple years, and already this, how did this happen? My imposter syndrome was just screaming inside of me. Oh my God, that's a mistake. They're gonna check it after. They're gonna be like, oh my God, what have I done? But was nice, and at least that gave me...
And they didn't made a mistake after all.
Well, they never contacted me about it, so I assume even if they admitted it was a mistake, they decided not to publish any information about it. But
so you're still holding on to it.
True, but that was a great sign when you... I think for a lot of people who's making art, sometimes it feels like you're just like in some... dark water. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know if what you're doing is legit, if people need it, if you need it, if it means something, if it's good, if it's bad. So sometimes some outer admiration of your work like that can really help you to move further, not to quit. And we all need somebody or something just to see us, to see like, okay, I see what you are doing. That's sure. An art. That's not just the spots on the paper.
Yeah, it's a bit of a coincidence. Yesterday, someone told me about... I went to an exhibition opening, actually, at Galerie Bonnard in Nune. And they told me about the artist, that he had like a pretty hard time going through all his paintings, and it was hard work, and it was a really hard process to make all of the paintings that he made for the exhibition. And he told me like, often being an artist is really romanticized by other people, but for the artist himself it's like really hard, and it's not that romantic at all. It's just really hard work, and it's constantly you are thinking if it's good enough, and often you are pretty negative about what you are doing, even though it's like amazing, but you can't always see it yourself. And this is not everything that I said right now he told to me, but I'm adding a bit. I'm adding a bit for myself, but
evolving his thoughts.
Exactly.
Just like
But so when you told me that when you get so like that kind of a prize on a fair, especially when you're just started really to make art, I can understand it's a huge motivator and gives you a lot of confidence to go on with your art journey.
Also prizes, any prizes in art or art related areas, it's so not non-objective, because art is non-objective, it's subjective. It
Yeah,
depends on
true.
who's in a jury, who's looking at your work, like who's judging, like what happened to this person this day. Did they have a good day? Did they have a bad day? Do the people on your painting remind them about their parents? They treated them badly. So it means nothing after all, because like wall great, yeah, let's say that.
Yeah,
But there is a reason why we're giving the certificates and medals to children in school, to like actually cheer them up a bit. So I was definitely cheered a lot.
Yeah, but like to win a prize, first of all, your work has to be good, because there's a lot of art. For instance, if you have, well, first of all, probably there are multiple juries.
True, but they're all working as a team.
Yeah, but they have to decide with each other, like which works are the best. So it's not only one person who had a good or a bad day, so he likes your work. Like it's multiple people who thought that you deserved a prize.
True, but still, any competition is never like, any art competition is never like fully objective, because there are so many factors that influence the decision, and so many factors that influencing the way you perceive some works, and like for some reason don't perceive others. And there are also like different trends, like the in different places. Let's say like The Hague prefer more like abstract art. They're really fond of that. Like the Rotterdam, like their preferable art style is a bit different. So just like shifting not only from person to person, but also from place to place, and also from year to year. This year we're a bit more into figurative painting. This year we're more a bit into the authentic, ethnical, the paintings. So it's like there are a lot of it. A lot of things going on.
Besides that, you gained the prize because it moved the jury, probably your work. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the prize. So it doesn't matter what they really were focusing on that year, because your work has moved them enough to let them think that you deserve the prize. So isn't that already like a win for yourself, that your work is moving people?
No, totally.
And of course, those jury like can express it by a prize, but probably there were a lot of more people in Florence who saw your work, who thought it was amazing, but they hadn't a medal to give.
No, that was still wonderful moment, and especially I really didn't expect it, because for me the painting seemed a bit complicated. It's like a lot of, for those who haven't seen it and not gonna look at it, the listeners, I'm gonna say that it's a bunch of naked people holding the white narwhal, which is like the whale with the horn on its head, and it's pointing under another naked lady sitting on the knees, and behind it the flooded village on the background. So it's not exactly very conventional and typical or usual the story on the painting. So it was really surprising that it's actually it actually touched somebody.
Yeah, can you tell a bit more about your painting, because your works have a lot of biblical and mythical subjects. Can you tell a bit more about that and why you are working with those subjects? What are they doing for you?
I guess heavy religious background that chasing me. Not really. However, I guess the biblical mythology, biblical narratives, they're quite still till this day influential in Western art. I see it, in my own works. I see it in other people's works. Not because we are still very religious, or we actually actually believe in Christian moral or Christian values, even though till some point we quite indoctrinated through the centuries with them, so we cannot even see where is like it's the common logic and where is like the very long Christian influence. So I lost the beginning of this thought. However,
Should I come back to the question?
No. I remember.
Okay.
Why biblical narratives? So all the art, all the art we study on, like old masters, of course, they like most of them were like Christian, and we are heavily influenced by this, but not just because we're very religious nowadays. We can be atheist, but because it's such a universal code in the art that we're using for like centuries already, that with these codes it's quite easy to talk about something, talk about loss or fidelity or love or grief or anger. And because of these funny codes that now can be transformed, because now there is no like actual church supervision of how you represent these narratives, there are more space to play with them, which I find interesting. And it comes somehow, you cannot even control it. It's like uncontrollable context in a way. For example, how I started with this Annunciation theme. I was working on my Human and Fish series, and sometimes I just like get this image in my head, and that was like the image of people holding the white dolphin. And I thought, okay, interesting. And I left this image in my head for another year. Never thought about it anymore. Just
never sketch it down also?
No, I knew that like, okay, I'm gonna do something with that. And then when I needed to make this like big work, I thought, okay, maybe I can draw this, but what is this? It's like where naked people holding the white dolphin. What is it about? And I was thinking about it for a while, and then I realized, okay, that's a scene of Annunciation. That's white dolphin. It represents the angel that comes to Mary, and all people that supporting him. There's like other angels or like the some good spirits. So I'm gonna think about it. Doesn't seem that obvious maybe, but for me at the moment it was like quite obvious. Okay, that's my representation of Annunciations, this thing, and from this point I'm gonna continue.
Mm-hmm. But Annunciation, you
Annunciation,
said?
yeah.
I don't know that word, I'm sorry. Can you explain it a little?
Oh yeah, Annunciation is the moment when Angel Gabriel comes to Virgin Mary to tell her that she's going to be the mother of Jesus, she's going to be the mother of Messiah.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then when I realized that this Annunciations thing, I started from my research about other Annunciation paintings throughout the history, from Leonardo and earlier till nowadays, till like 21st century. And then I was looking for where to put my story.
So the people, you already had the image in your mind of the people carrying the dolphin. But why did that image remind you of the annexation?
It's actually hard to tell the thought process behind this realization, but I just realized that this white dolphin, because back then it was like white dolphin, it's only later transformed into narwhal on the bigger painting. And I just realized he's flying in this image freely, just like a white angel in the sky. And this one girl standing in front of him, it could be only Virgin Mary. So it was just like the one moment realization. Okay, that's image about this for me. And from then I already started to develop it. And that's how I decided to switch from the beluga, from the white whale, to narwhal, because the another layer of this piece eventually it's linked, how it's linked to medieval images of Lady and the Unicorn. So it was like the series of tapestry in Museum Cluny in Paris. Now you can see it. Of Lady and the Unicorn, represented on a few different tapestry, and back then it was like very popular medieval narrative, which would depict the young girl, Lady, and next to her the unicorn, or sometimes unicorn and the lion. And unicorn in this case would represent her innocence. And in some cases, a unicorn would represent Jesus Christ himself. So that's became for me a play because a narwhal is a unicorn of the sea. So it became like this, both the Annunciation scene and yet this reminding of this medieval images, which I find very interesting because that was really successful finding to combine it in one animal.
I really think it's making a narwhal like really magical to say that a narwhal is the unicorn of the sea. That sounds cool.
But it is, which is very interesting because actually anatomically, this horn of the narwhal, it's his like teeth, so it's like his front teeth growing like this, and it's not the horns that, for example, the lambs or sheeps or the cows have, but it looks like a horn. I find it interesting.
That's really, yeah, that is interesting, really. I wanted to ask you about your inspiration, because a lot of your inspiration comes also from biblical and mythical subjects. But where do you find inspiration in other artists? Because you were also talking about exhibitions where you have been and to museums. But what artists do inspire you?
I'm quite easily gullible in my inspiration. Whatever I see, whoever I see inspires me quite a lot. For example, we're talking about this like latest big Franz Hals exhibition in Rijksmuseum. And when I was there, I was just like, oh, wow, that's stunning how he works. Like the for example, how he depicts the fabric. I'm definitely gonna try to at least copy this quality, because with Franz Hals, for example, he put like three brush strokes of black and it looks like a velvet or it looks like a silk, and that's like fantastic, because if you put like 3 brush strokes of black paint, it's gonna look like 3 brush strokes. So I was really like inspired, like, okay, I'm gonna try to steal this quality. So whatever I see, it's the recently it's always just like the my trending inspiration of the month.
But you have no like no list of artists that specifically inspire you. It's just what you see at the moment can inspire you. It doesn't matter who it is or where it is. Or
well, as a child, and that's very cheap and obvious, I was like really, really heavily influenced by Salvador Dali.
mm-hmm.
I was obsessed by his art like for so many years in a row. So I would say from the early childhood, that's the most influential figure for me in the art. Now at this point, when I see what a massive like art history background lead to him like the appears as an artist, I see that there are so much more than just like one figure that you can like really follow or be like very inspired by, because now I think I'm more inspired by different art styles or art groups.
Mm-hmm. So you find inspiration even in like because you work pretty realistically, do you even like find inspiration in abstract art and that kind of stuff?
Actually, yes, because with my technical skills, I'm definitely lacking of bravery. Sometimes I'm just like too afraid of like moving too far from like the sculpturing the shape of fades or shading. And when I see abstract artists like working that freely with everything, basically it encourages me a bit to move my own limits, to move my own like comfort zone a bit sometimes.
That's funny because my uncle is a abstract artist, and he taught me how to get loose before painting. He keeps those little watercolor sketchbooks. So before he goes painting, sometimes he will like make those little abstract watercolors, and don't think about anything that you're doing. Just get a color and put it somewhere, and just do that a bunch of times, and then you will get loose in painting before you even start to do a real painting.
Now I'm just imagining in my mind how it's just like the bunch of hippies sitting in the circle and like getting all loose before they start to paint.
Yeah, well, in school we had a practice for it that I haven't been to, but that was like we. If I would have been there, we would sit in a circle with everybody, and we would sit there in silence for like an hour or something, and then we would go walk with everybody in silence. Then we would go back to school and make something out of sand in silence, and then blow it away.
Sounds like the transcendental meditation or something.
Yeah, it was something like, I think in the name of the workshop it was called a meditational something, but well, it could be a practice. The monks in of Buddhism, I think it was those monks, they had like a practice of mosaic. They made like big
Mandala.
mosaic. Yeah, exactly. And when they were finished, they would smash them, just to remind ourselves that nothing lasts forever. But well, this kind of stuff is actually, I think, a good practice to get loose.
True. But it's always like the balancing between like getting free enough and yet having the sort of controlled results of what you need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. I think everybody does it in their own way eventually. Yeah, also I wanted to ask you about your future exhibition. We were talking a little bit outside of the podcast about it, but April 24th it was?
April 20th.
Oh, 20th.
So on Saturday, April 20th, in Pulcri Studio in Klinkenberg, Galerijs, they're going to be my solo show that's going to last till 12th of May. So everybody welcome to the opening, which is going to happen at 4 p.m.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And can you tell a little bit about the exhibition? What kind of work will you show?
Of course. So there are going to be 2 rooms, which are going to be also thematically separated a bit. One is going to be my Human and Fish, my first series, and in another one is going to be Nuclear Paradise, my latest series I'm busy with. And it's a biblical, mythological narratives that represented with a background of nuclear bombs, which for me, probably the thing that bothers me the most the last couple years, how we still have to continue our like lives and with all our like religious, non-religious narratives. While on the background, and sometimes not just background, the terrible things happening.
Yeah. So, well, that's a big subject, of course.
Yeah, and not easy to talk about in the art because when you paint in it, you're always trying to avoid be too funny or be too so it's very easy to take the wrong note with these themes. That's why mine are very I would say, distant yet quite obvious what meant.
Yeah, it's also like that's a hard thing with those kind of things about art, that people interpret it freely sometimes. It could be difficult, especially with a subject that is that sensitive, of course. But it's also like, I don't know how this is for you, but at least I recognize this by myself. Like, the reason I paint and draw is because what I want to say, I don't have the words for it. So you paint it, but then someone comes to you and asks you to explain, and that's like really hard because that's the reason that you painted it, is because it can be explained like that.
True. Otherwise, you would just like write it down.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
No, true. But in this way, also, I think like the a painting is a bit more safe than just like saying your thoughts out loudly, because there are space for anybody's interpretation. For example, even with nuclear explosion, there are so many things that you can see in it. You can see the fear of maybe the big nuclear war coming, or you can see there, for example, the trace of the Big Bang that created our universe. That also can be one of the interpretations, and so on and so on. Or your personal like mental breakdown also can be depicted as a nuclear explosion. So I'm saying something, but yet leaving the space for people to find their own like meanings in it. For example, so one of my paintings, it was a very funny story during the exhibition in England, Parallax Art Fair. On the painting, the little girl holding the skull, from which the fish jumps out, and on the head of the girl there is like the hand of the old man or woman, we cannot tell, and it calls like karma or Rusland. When the word just broke out, it was my how I imagined this curse that comes from one generation to another in Russia. This curse of never-ending violence, and how something that's always alive, that the very soul of you trying to jump out of this chain of reborn violence. So that was my interpretation. That was my idea. But the person who, after all, bought this painting, he thought, "Oh, that reminds me about like how in my culture," and he was like Irish Catholic, that parents would buy you a hamster to teach you about like life and death concept. After all, so it's like such absolutely different interpretations of the same picture. And for me, for example, it seemed so like, oh, I'm drawing it, it looks so doomed. Everybody just like get this like doom from the first the side.
Yeah, but it's like the interesting thing is that both interpretation can be right at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah. And after we both that, nobody knows like what's going to be the interpretation for the people who's going to look at it first time.
The interesting thing that it reminds me of is a friend of mine told me about a film director, and he made like a whole film just not really thinking about it, just like adding stuff that he would like and just making a cool story. And so he went to an interview, and the interviewer was like, "Oh, so I read this about your early life, and it's so interesting that you put all of this in your film and all of your backstory and these things that happened." And he was like, "Did I?" he didn't notice it himself, but after the interview, he was looking back at his movie, and he was like, "Oh wow, I put all of my like my whole life story into it without me knowing it." So that's interesting as well, and that sometimes people can see it sooner than yourself what you have actually done with the painting.
True, true. I never knew that I'm actually painting this painting about like some hamster.
Yeah, you couldn't have known.
I had no idea, but apparently I did.
Yeah. So April 20th will be your exhibition.
Yeah.
Do you have any other plans for the future that you can share?
Ooh, actually, we were thinking maybe in the late summer of making pop-up exhibition, also probably in The Hague or Rotterdam, with an amazing artist from Belgium, Lily. She didn't know yet about our plans, but she will figure it out. Together with the friend of ours, like Dan Koens. So 3 of us making a pop-up exhibition for like a couple of weeks. For this, we need to find the space, and we had no idea. It's just like the very scratch at this point. But that's our plans.
Okay, so well, I think that's a nice part to end the podcast. I really want to thank you that you want to do this podcast with me. It was really nice to hear more about your work. And yeah, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We did it.
Yeah, we did it. I hope all of you could understand what I was saying. And thank you for listening, and hope to see you the next time. Bye.
Je wil op snuk, zorg je. De reden is maar.